Welcome to the Loud Whisper Takeover podcast. Today I'm talking to somebody that is into the Krump world. I'm talking to a very, very dear friend of mine that I met about 15 years ago in the south of Los Angeles. We did projects together. We actually met in some sort of youth center because I got some fundings out of London and I wanted to learn about Krump. When we met, I was just a little lost chick, in the south of Los Angeles, trying to find Crumpers. When he found me, he took me under his wing, and our friendship has just been growing since then. We've done projects together in San Francisco. We did a Krump theater project together that took us both with some people from his crew to Hollywood. So I'm introducing you to Fudd, Willie Hodge, who has Demolition Crew, and he's tuning in straight out of Los Angeles. Hey, Fudd, how are you doing?
Good, I'm good.
I was
Great.
super excited. I was super excited about our session today because we often have phone calls and we always end up having deep spiritual conversations. So it was a must for this podcast. So the first thing I want
Yeah.
to ask you, because you have a very rich life, because the way I see what you've created is not just a Crumb crew. Obviously, you're also a business owner. Like the whole Crump movement you created has become international. You have a t-shirt business. You are a barber. You are now building some sort of cultural center. But before we like look at all of that, can you first explain how would you describe where you grow up? What is society like? What are the vibrations like? What are the challenges that people are facing? Can you give us a context?
So um my parents was really young. My mom had me at 16. She moved out, got her own place. Her and my dad, got married and stuff like that. And then moved into uh I can look at it now and say that it was a more gang affiliated. It was a tough area, a lot of drugs being sold on the street, like right in front of my apartment building. And when she moved there, she was like, because she also, my parents, uh, they don't like to brag about it or, brag about it, but they had to protect themselves by being a part of gangs. And my mom was a what you call a Crip. My dad was Blood. So with them moving in the area, they had it was a more blood area, but it took a liking to my mom. My mom was like considered like a big homie of sorts or like a mentor to a lot of these younger gang members. So they would hang out at the house and stuff like that. So when I was younger, like I had access to all these different people. And she kind of looking back on, she kind of used it as like she was more like a community leader. But that's how I look at it now. But at the time, there's just young people having fun, throwing parties, stuff like that. So I was around a lot of different gang members and drug dealers and stuff like that. Um, and it was like I said, it was a tough area. Yeah, it was crazy. But it seemed like it was, being a kid and being protected by all these people. It felt like it was cool at the time. Looking back, I'm like, oh shoot, that was a tough area, but it actually made me pretty tough also.
So can I just summarize it for people that are not from the US and that might
Yeah,
have less of an understanding of what gang life actually means in the US? So number one, where in the south of Los Angeles, there are two big gangs, let's say it like that, the Bloods and the Crips. And you
yeah,
are basically the child of a union between a Blood and a Crip, which actually never occurs. Like this
yeah,
is a
yeah,
rare
yeah,
event. So can you explain what that actually entails? Because that in itself has an impact on the story
yeah.
of who you are today.
Like you said, they're like naturally sworn enemies, like the Bloods and the Crips. So they'll come together and because they're forming this union and like moving to another area that they weren't familiar with, but being like these, like bigger people to look up to. They kind of in a way, like I said, they used to have parties a lot, and they used to have invite all kind of people from all over. So they had like this respect from everybody because of who they were, and they used to just throw parties, 2 or 3 day parties, and I would be downstairs just moping around, just jumping on around and stuff like that, and so it's looking at it like let me not look at it now. But growing up in that environment, uh, it was I felt like it was I just had all these different people that just was there to protect me and family members. I didn't know no difference who if they were good or bad because they always treated me with respect because of my parents, and I was Willie and Val up, you know. Uh, they were trying to like create a better life for us. Like I said, they was pretty young though when they had us or had me.
I want to talk about this concept of being related in between brackets, being related to a gang, because I think from a European perspective, because gang culture, we don't relate it the same way. And what I've
Hmm.
learned from you, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it's not because you do all the bad stuff, right? That you're part of the gang. Sometimes you're far away from the center of all the bad actions, but you still
Yeah.
are related to it, or you have to sort of identify with it so that you can navigate society, school, and the streets in general.
Yeah, for the most part, every neighborhood has their territory. And sometimes it can be by blocks, like a certain mile radius. It can be like a blood gang here, and then 2 blocks down, another blood gang, and another couple uh, blocks down from there, it can be Crips. So they all have like their territory. They have their territory that they run. So they have like grocery stores, the stores, gas stations, schools. The area I grew up in, I had to go to blood schools, even though that was like a school within a district. But most cases, I had to go to uh, even if it wasn't in my district, it would be better for me to go to a school that had similar people that I grew up around, so there wouldn't be no conflict because of how intense it was, how intense it was in the 80s. I mean, especially back in the 80s, it was really intense with, drugs and crime, the crack epidemics and stuff like that. So being born and raised in that era, it was really tough. So you have, like I said, blood schools, crip schools in LA. For the most part of South Central Los Angeles and Compton, Baltimore, all these different areas, these short areas, Inglewood. Um, we all, because we grew up in it, we know exactly what areas have what. It's the Crips over there in Long Beach. It's the Bloods over there in Inglewood. It's the, you know what I mean? It's different pockets. So we know how to navigate it. You know what I mean? Because of, because of the connection that we have to like family members and people that stay in different areas.
Yeah, so from a very young age, you're very aware that you're sort of this mixed union, and you're very aware of how you, as a mixed blood crip sort of kid, are going to have to navigate society in general, streets, school,
Yes,
grocery
yeah.
stores.
So for the most part, like my mom's side was the side that was mostly gang banging the most. We actually had my auntie, my uncle underneath my mom, the younger siblings. They both gang bang, but my whole family moved from a crip neighborhood, and it wasn't just us that moved to this blood neighborhood. We had like four different, 4 or 5 different apartments that we occupied in our same building. So my grandmother came, my auntie, another auntie, and then the same thing for my dad's side. They came too, but the rest of his siblings and stuff didn't interact with gangs. It's like he was the only one because his thing was, it's like he decided to be a part of a gang just to protect his siblings because like they were gangs in some cases they would try to recruit you, stuff like that. That was his reason that he told me for him being a part, but he didn't want his siblings to be a part of it. So I had overall in my apartment building, it was a new apartment building where had just got developed when it was like probably born. And they moved in. We probably have 10 apartments on like as far as my dad's side and my mom's side. We had 10, we occupied 10 apartment, yeah, 10 apartments in the apartment building. It's like an 80 unit apartment building. So we have 10 of them. It was like most of my family. So it was I grew up around a lot of my family, my dad's siblings, my grandmothers, both my grandmothers, they all stayed in the same apartment building. But like I said, the neighborhood was also gang infested and there was a lot of different activities going on. So I would say My mom actually left the gang life when she had me, but you still have like this programming, this certain concept about how you need to move and maneuver, even though you're trying to like move yourself from it, you're still there. Certain things that comes with being raised in certain areas in LA. You wear your hat a certain way, you wear a certain color, you put it's a certain language that we all kind of understand. Certain things that you don't, certain things that you don't do with your hands, certain things like that. But my mom was like real respected, and both my parents was really respected in the area. So everybody took a liking. It was always over the house.
So your upbringing, the environment was rough. There were, like you said, it was gang infested. There were drugs, like the crack epidemic and stuff. When I met you, another thing I want to also say is that you are in your early 40s. And I remember when we met and you shared that story, I also had to think, wow, I need to think we are friends. You're in your early 40s and you were born with parents that related to a gang. Like that is also something that as outsiders of the
Yeah,
US, like we don't realize how ingrained it is in society. So, and then I met you about 15 years ago and we worked with a lot of Krumpers. Krump is a dance form that is actually trying to give positivity to people so that they can process their emotions, express their emotions, also be part of the positive movement. And when we worked together, there were a lot of young people, young adults that had parents that were in prison, parents that had problems with addiction. There were some young adults or young people that were in and out of real gang life. What would you say is society like now? Is it still very similar or have things changed in the surroundings? I'm not talking about what your work does, because your work is obviously creating a lot of positivity. But generally speaking, what is the environment
the environment in LA,
right now?
it has morphed. It has morphed and changed. It is as stern as it was before. As far as like you, like I can wear colors now. I never used to wear colors. I will never wear blue. I will never. I wore like when you met me, I was wearing black. I was always in black.
If I can say one day, because I didn't have enough money to rent a car when I was in LA, so I was taking public transport. And I once came to a barbershop and I was wearing something with color. And you were so upset with me. You were like, Cindy, how dare you coming like that here? And then you
Yeah,
drove me all the way back to Hollywood because I was not allowed to go back home alone.
yeah. Because at that time, it was like the color thing was. If you could walk through one neighborhood, it might be harder to go to the next neighborhood. It's like, me being who I am, I always wanted to make sure that I took care of my people from because I know the stories and the different things that could possibly happen by wearing these different colors. So the colors, everybody's dressing the way they want to dress. A little bit more fashion forward now. But you still have gangs. You still have people being a part of gangs or want to live a certain lifestyle. Now it's not as like you used to have to like stay in the area to be a part of that neighborhood. Now they kind of recruiting from everywhere. You know? So it's not as crazy as it was. Then I think people are kind of like a little bit more just about like uh, you know traveling and and just trying to be better. But it's still got its bad parts. It's still like tough to go to certain areas. It's still like when you hurt people, and and other hurt people also want people to be or feel the way they feel about certain things because you still got fatherless kids, you still got drugs, you still got. I mean, it's morphing to different things. You still have people that's impoverished mentally, uh, really afraid to like step outside their comfort zone because that's what it was raised for the most part, or that's their parents at this point. Like you said, I'm 44 now, so uh, my my view and take is slightly different. So look at it if I was in my early 20s or 19. Most people, it's in their bloodline. Now it's a generational thing. The grandma gang back, the dad, the parents gang back, they gang back. It's like now it's a part of a legacy. So to kind of break that cycle. It's really hard. And when LA has a big gang culture, period. I mean, from Hispanics to the blacks to the whites, it's a lot. The Asians, it's a lot of different components that come into play, and they all influence everything we do, everything we do out here, on how we move and how we operate. Especially if you stay out here on the left, you'll start to adapt certain things, not in a bad way, because all of it is bad, but you tend to walk and move a certain way after. Yeah, I mean, you get familiar where to go and where not to go. You know?
And so
So
that's why that's why you're saying there is like literally a social pattern that needs to be broken, and all your work is actually going in that direction. And with the barbershop, and with the cultural center, and with all the Krump activities. Now, one big thing in the world of Krump as well, for people that don't know, is that there is some sort of system of mentorship, I would call it. So you have the big homie that is looking after, yeah, his group of homies, but there is really some sort of mentorship. Now, a lot of that mentorship was actually first expressed in your barbershop. And I want to talk about this because when we met, your barbershop was at the crossroad of those two territories, isn't it? Or it wasn't very far from a crossroad of those
yeah,
territories. Tell us
yeah,
more
yeah,
because,
right down the street.
and so what really happened in your barbershop? Because it's at the crossroads of those two territories of gang versus gang. But your barbershop, the way I view it, I feel it was like a mediation center. It was where everybody seemed to be okay to meet. And I feel it's really because you navigated both worlds for a long time.
All right. So before we go all the way there, so like I said, my mom and my pops they party. They had fun, but they not outside of just partying. They made their home a safe space for people to come hang out, chill. I mean, uh, do adult things. So it was always people at the home. So that's what I know. All I know is that they we always had people there. The people cared for us. They protected us. They treated us like family. And my mom used to always have the music playing all day. So we were always dancing. It was always dancing. It was always something. Even if my friends would be over, we'll be like, well, if you're not dancing, you gotta go. You can't just be in here and not do nothing. You can't just be sitting still. You gotta bounce around. We cha-cha a lot. Well, as a child, she always picked me up with cha-cha. So um, also with them throwing parties, like one artist, everybody should know this person. He was spawned basically out of our home and started doing music from my mom throwing parties. Dr. Dre, famous artist, producer, Dr. Dre. Yeah, his career basically the seed was planted there at my mom's home. Seeing that and the way I was protected, so like and that's a lot of it is like gang culture or just family gang culture type. So when I hit a certain age and I got involved in, I've always played sports, I played college football. I've always been a part of teams. Even like the gangs, they look for people to be a part of their association and whatnot. You know what I mean? And to do like a family type environment, if they're doing good or bad. But it's always been ingrained in everything I do. So when I got into prep, it was like, oh, these are also the components. And I'm just a likable person. I have friends all over. That never stopped me from, like, I don't care what gang you're from, they knew me for me. You know what I mean? There people knew where I grew up at, but it wasn't a thing to me where like, well, I can't be a friend because I'm still over here. I think that's what sports did for me is open up the door as much as possible. Shoot, I don't care where you're from, but I like you. You're a cool person. So by the time we get to the barbershop, I have like customers from all over. I have friends from all over. And even like these dancers I'm meeting are from all over. So it's like, nah. Uh, in the neighborhood, it was pretty tough. It was it was like the crossroads. It was a couple of different gangs that it was this one gang's territory, but this other gang still hang there. But we had access other gangs to roam by and try to shoot, do stuff like that. But I was working in that area at that shop. And at the time, because my mindset, because I grew up in it and I grew up down the street, I'm like, if anything was to happen, I could call the people I grew up with and I let them handle it. I mean, like, they're literally 2 blocks out. So that's my thought process. So it wasn't dangerous for me at the time because it just something I thought just happened. I thought people get shot, people gangbangs, people, you just, you get programmed in a way you think that's the way it's supposed to be. So when we start having crime sessions and stuff there, I would have everybody come over and
Yeah,
stuff and
because
respect
just to clarify, a lot of Krump sessions were happening at the barbershop,
at the
like
barbershop.
all the
Yeah,
time. During working
yeah.
hours,
So
after working hours, nighttime, daytime, all
yeah,
the time. Mhm.
all the time. And then me want not to. All right, so I also had 2 kids at the time. It was, yeah. So Lenny, when we had two, it was two, but it started off with Brendan. So the respect that I had coming from my mom, that translates to respect that I have to the community, to all these different gangs, to different all these different people. So when I'm having crump session, or even the gangbangers, they like, well, shoot, that's Fudd, that's his people. They go, we cool, they go do nothing. They're not permitted to like what we call gang bang on them, bang on them. Nah, leave them alone. They're dancers. You know what I mean? So it was a safe space, even though it was in the heart of the neighborhood. It was still a safe space in a way where we could just get off. And it wasn't even my shop. It was somebody else's shop. My friend, Pete, coworker. Yeah. But I just had access to being there as long as possible. And sometimes we'd be in there 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, just dancing. We just saw nothing. Thank God that nothing ever happened. Just us being there. Like it was just cool. We was there. We'd be there pretty deep. We was having weekly sessions. We was having labs, and we'd do actual pump battles, like real pump battles when we have 40, 50 people in one small space.
Yeah, it was a very small space. I can't believe that you were
Yeah.
40 or 50 in there.
Yeah.
So I just want to fast forward now before we say what happened in between. So you had this barbershop at this crossroad, and I find it quite phenomenal because I feel like you are a person that is guiding people when they are at a crossroad. And so you're at that crossroad with your barbershop. So we're between two territories. You are actually talking all day to people and trying to get young people and young adults out of anything bad that they're doing. You're organizing crump sessions as well. Those that are into gangbanging, they even respect that and they're like, no, they're dancers, we leave them alone. Now I want us to fast forward, right? So 15 years later, here you are now. And for me, you have created an empire. And it's an empire of transformation. So can you tell us what you do? Because there is the barbershop, the cultural center, the Krump movement, the business. Tell us what you do. Where are you at right now? And then we'll rewind.
So back then, I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't know what I was doing. I was a part of things, and I felt like I had access to have sessions and have them regularly, have safe spaces. Um, until one day somebody said, "Hey, this whole time we didn't know that Fudd been keeping us out of trouble." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh, that's right." Because if we're sessioning, if we're dancing all the time, if we had something to do, and a lot of times I was letting these dudes here for free. Uh, I was having they'll be over to just even if it was sit down and talk. Uh, they don't have time to get involved in certain things because they'll be so focused on let's go here, let's battle here, let's do this, let's do that. So once I figured that out, that's what I was doing. Now I can really effectively do it where it makes sense. And also, not to say that people still didn't decide to do certain things, but it just I'm like, okay, my mama did this. She didn't really understand how effective she was also. And my uncle also added value because when I was younger, he I was dancing with his dance crew when I was real little. So I'm like, I love these people so much, and to this day, they both passed away about 13, 14 years ago now. But these people, I want to honor them in everything I do because that's who shaped me to be who I am to this day. So I'm like, I need to. I have like I've conjured up and manifested I'm like, "Look, I need a warehouse, I need a studio, I need this. I really want to be able to give back to people, give them a safe space where even if it's not to dance, just to sit here. If anybody can come in the shop and chill with me. Anybody to talk about whatever. And I know the hardships that people deal with the streets and gang, just being able to be just being a person, like business, money, finances, all that. So so I'm like, all right. And also with the stuff that Cynthia said to me and stuff that I didn't believe in at one point, she was like, Fudd, you can do anything. And I'm like, who is this person to be telling me I can do anything? She don't know what I go through. She don't know how to do it. And you're like, no. You know, you saw something that I didn't even see it myself, but now I get it. So uh, I make it a point to, I got a shop, an actual shop. It's not a barber shop. It's something, it's somewhere where I actually cut hair, but it's a safe space for creativity, safe space, life just for creativity, to release your thoughts, come up with ideas. I mean, I help people conjure up ideas for their brands. We have here at the barber chair where I work at the printing station where we can print up clothes. Yeah, if that's me, or if I want to teach somebody else to possibly do it, I want to give people the tools to actually also learn how to start a business. The podcast room where we actually do my friend does podcasting, and there we can switch out the backdrop or whatever. We can make it into anything. So yeah, we had the podcast room, and my friend he rents the space out, does his podcast or a podcast, and we also do our Krump sessions here. This is also DCX headquarters for us to session weekly to practice. And I wanted to make this place the epicenter of what we do, and not even just what we do as dancers, but what we do as a collective. Um, like I said, just being able to come here and just share ideas and come up with different things. I call this a charging port. This is where you come to charge up. It's like the ultimate charging port. This is where all the energy is. This is where all the good energy is. And because I don't welcome nothing negative because of the stuff prior in the past. So these steps I've been taking to get to this point is really to really help people mentally and spiritually, help them artistically, help them come up with ideas and find ways to like create a business or finances. We can talk about certain things, and we can put certain things on the line when it really like when people are really frustrated about certain things going on in their life. We can talk about it, and they can feel relief. This I have to max this space out first to get to the next step, which is going to come soon, and I know it's going to come soon. It's a actual warehouse with with a lot more space, office spaces, and different things like that, so we can do a full cultural center where we can have like art days for kids, have summer programs. I want to also like do a day program for people with developmental issues and stuff like that. Just want to open it up across the board and give people access to different things that's not just that they're kind of like eliminating out of LA County. It's like they're not really worried about people's creativity anymore, being able to take their ideas to the next level. So I, I'm invested in other people's dreams and stuff now. Well, not even now, it's always been like that, but even more.
From not really understanding that you were creating so much change in people, you start to become aware, you start to build bigger and bigger programs. Just to give people an idea, how many people are you actually touching right now in LA? And then obviously your crew is international now. So how many people are you actually touching?
So in the crew, DCX or Demolition Crew, it's about 15 chapters around the world now, and it's like roughly like 200 members. and that's just in the crew. And that's like also like the people that I connect with, the people I've pushed out there, motivated them to dance, to take dance and grow to the next level, or supported them to take a project to the next level, or get in photography, videography, animation, or even be a producer. I'm in all these different areas, and I'm constantly just like I said, I'm invested in people's dreams, their goals, and I see like what they can do, what in ways they can touch people and reach out to people. So I've noticed that all you need is one person. You just change the trajectory of one person in one in the area they're going. You could change the world. I mean that one person. Just imagine Dr. Dre was given an opportunity to to flip a record at my mom's house because she used to have parties a lot, and this dude is who he is today. So I don't want to be something or a person like that to be able to like help spawn the next Dr. Dre or the next biggest artist. So, like I said, I'm invested in people's dreams.
I want to talk about a big turning point in your journey. And it's actually also related to the designs of your t shirts. Your t shirts started with hammers, then there was a bear. Tell us more about, and then now there is something to do with repair. So there was like demolition, like the demolition of challenges. Then there was a bear that sort of looked a bit roughed up. And then now there was the idea of repair. But so there was a turning point in your
Okay.
life.
When we started the crew, we felt like a bunch of misfits that wasn't that well, a bunch of different pieces that people didn't want. Like we felt like we was getting done a certain kind of way because we didn't dance a certain way. And we would just the collective wasn't the popular crew. Or we just didn't stand there and you know what I mean and like we wanted to dance. We didn't want to do all the extracurricular stuff. We just wanted to dance. And when we decided, and we wanted to be characters within when we how we dance. I'm a DC Comics fanatic. I was Superman is my favorite character. So we would talk about things like that, like, oh, we want to. When we decided to start a crew, it's like we don't need to be DC. DC. Oh, let's do DC. So everybody, we will work on these characters. We'd be in the mirror and work on these characters. And then I'm like, we can't use DC because if we become famous, they will try to sue us. So I'm like, oh, that crew. And my cousin Blaze was like what? That crew? I'm like, that crew? That ain't hard. He like, that's weak. I'm like, all right. I remember something my mom always told me. She said, whatever you do, go 110%. Whatever you do, go all in, demolish it, like a demolition crew. And I was like, oh, DC, demolition crew. So I said, oh, they demolish everything. And our thing can be demolish the dance floor. You know what I mean? And it can be more broader, like us just demolishing anything, any obstacle that's on our way. We're gonna demolish it. We'll go 110%. So so when we started that, we were like, all right, a hammer. You hammer to demolish things. And then the bear, because like I said, I felt like we was these individuals that was these different pieces. It was the bear was really was us together formed it as one. Like this texture connected to this texture, the split down like a Chucky doll. Like he just all beat up and torn apart, but we put them back together. This Franken bear, and yeah, so we had that concept. It's like that's a demolition bear. So years and years, I mean, like I didn't think nothing of it, like the brand, because I was just doing t-shirts just to have. I said, if not, we can't get trophies every year like I would do, like I get in sports. I got a wall full of trophies. Me and my kids, we all have football, basketball, track. We have all these trophies. So I'm like, if we have this crew, what can I give them that they can kind of like look back and be like, oh, that's nice. Oh, I remember this time frame. So I was like, t-shirts. So I started making t-shirts, and and it was just a DC Demolition Crew, but you got DC clothes. So I was like, dang, something was in my head that was like, it's not done, but we were still, making shirts. So as we started to figure out that also with this punk dancing, what it's going to do, because we have people that gang bang, they come from gang banging, some of them come from broken homes and things like that. They deal with a lot of different issues and different trauma because we're allowing that stuff to come out when we dance. We're really tapping into the darker side and letting that stuff come out. And it's and so many words, it's helping. It's helping us cope with certain things. So it's like therapy. So I'm like, once I started to realize what it's doing and giving people the same space, it's like, well, this is therapeutic. This ain't just some random dance from Los Angeles. This is something that can really help people, and it's been helping. So we started attaching that to the brand, the clothing brand, which was DC clothing at first. Then one day we was talking, I think Lead Project on somebody else. We was like, yeah, you mean Demolition Crew? We do a lot of obstacles and we do this and that. He was like, we breaking barriers. And we both looked at each other like, breaking bear. So the bear, the idea of the bear that we already had created 10 years, 9 years prior, now it like integrate with what the clothing brand should be, breaking barriers. I mean, because it's still Demolition Crew, it's called Demolition those obstacles. So we like, oh shoot, breaking bear with a play on bear. So now we like, all right, that's the brand. That's it. So now the bear is the logo, the hammer, and then we made 10 years as a crew. I decided to what inspired me when I was younger were always like Transformers, Voltron, like these different like American cartoons and stuff like that. I'm not for sure if it was all around, but like Power Rangers. So when we made 10 years as a crew, I'm like, we done been through so much. We now made it a decade. You can't tell me nothing about like that we'll ever quit now because we done made it 10 years. That's a big feat in front. I'm like, yo, 10 years, we made it a decade. So I decided to get this character made, which is his name is Beartron, to symbolize that a decade. So this symbolizes the decade 10, the number 10. We added the X for DCX of DC 10, the 10-year mark. So now that's why our name now is this, we call ourselves DCX, because we made the decade mark, but we just kept the X because now it covers everything we're doing. So the brand is DCX, Breaking Barriers, and we have the three characters. So the bear, the hammer, and Beartron. And now there are three different stages within uh, the brand of mental wellness and where you at in your journey on getting better mentally. Until recently, I didn't think it was complete. I'm making clothes the last 5 years. I'm just like something's missing, something's missing. So to me, the bear was always broken because he was broken up into different pieces. So like, he's broke, he's broke, he's broken, he's broken. And then recently, like the beginning of the year, I'm outside running and walking, running, and uh, guy was talking to me and he was like, "You looking at the bear wrong?" I'm like, "I'm looking at the bear wrong." He said, "He was like, yeah, you looked at the bear wrong." I'm like, "I'm not looking at the bear wrong. He's broken. He's broken." That's also how I felt about myself. That I was always this broken person because of the way I was raised and stuff like that. And I have access to certain things or certain things happen in my life. So he's like, "No, you look at the bear wrong." I'm like, "Oh, he broke." He said, "Oh, he's repaired." And at that moment, I'm like, "Oh." So I ran inside the shop. My son's girlfriend's in here, and I put the bear down, and I say, "What does this bear? In one word, what does he represent?" She said, and normally she second guessed herself. She said, "Repair." And I knew that moment. I said, "Okay, now everything is complete. The whole puzzle, everything we're doing is complete because that's what I was looking for." uh, Spiritually. That's what I was looking for. Knowing that, like, because like I said, I was looking at the bear like if it was me. And I was also looking at other people like that. It's like we're these broken people that just walks amongst each other, not that we're these prepared versions of ourselves. That been through these things, so these are just testimonies for a bigger, bigger purpose, a bigger, you know what I mean, something to express to people that what we've been through, that what we've been through is us, is how we deal with it. And, so it opened my eyes a lot. So now um, it brought everything full circles, everything up into it. So so repaired is one of the bigger messages that I want to make sure I promote on everything we do now.
And that's so powerful because obviously in this podcast we talk about our loud whisper. And so you had that loud whisper to create your t-shirts and the designs, but you felt it wasn't complete. And then once you felt it was complete, okay, there's the sense of demolishing
Demolish it.
everything that is not serving us anymore. And then there is a bear that is all patched up, roughed up, and then actually he's repaired, and you say, now I went full circle. But since that moment, I feel everything that you're doing now is just it explodes. Like it's becoming bigger and bigger since you came to that loud whisper that told you, yeah, you
Yeah.
nailed it.
So just imagine starting a cruise about demolishing things and everything, like I said, every obstacle, everything that's in the way, just demolish, demolish, demolish. I never thought to think that after demolishing these things, that things will have to be put back together, and you know what I mean, to be a lot stronger. And a lot of times that's what we do, because after the things that try to tear us down, we're built back up and we have a little bit more resilience than to just, be torn down the same way we were torn down before. It's like, no, no, I know where to go. I know how this works. You're more familiar with the attack that you're getting on your spirit or your character, whatever you want to. So now I'm just to the point where, like I said, it's full circle. We're repaired. Now it's time to try to repair the people around us, the community, our friends, learning how to really use certain words that actually have the right energy and the right purpose behind it. So it's really been dope.
So through all your projects, you're helping people to go on the right track, leave the bad track behind if they were ever tempted to follow that. You've also helped a lot of people, with their mental health and stuff. And you're helping people on a regular basis in everything that you do, whether you cut hair or do a dance project. I have a question for you because you're such a humble, cool, nice, gentle man. But 15 years ago, you didn't see that potential. I always saw that potential in you. I was like, wow, this guy he's going to take over. But what is it if there was a young person in front of you and you can see that person has potential, but maybe the person is shy or maybe the person doesn't believe in their capabilities of being a leader? What would be your guidance, your advice to them?
Now, what I do when I see it, I just push them out there. So I know that's the first step. It's being pushed out there. And I had those moments also with myself to like I would stand around even in the session because it was scary at one point. I would stand around and I had built up the courage to push myself out there. And then once you push yourself out there, everybody's looking at you. Now it's time for you to do something. You can either fold and go backwards, or everybody can be like, hey, let's go. They start laughing, uh, doing that. So I had created that within my head. Every time I would stand around and I'd be like, dang, still be more people going. I push myself. So now, not just now, I've been doing it for a while now. I just push people out there. So I know now that they're out there after being pushed, they have to. You got to dance, or you got to do whatever. When I see it, I just try to encourage them as much as possible. Like, I was there before. Just take a step, take that first step. You don't have to be the best. Just take the first step. That's just, you know, like putting yourself in that environment. So the more you do it, the more you take a step, the next step, the next step, the next step. Now you advance at what you do, you know. You know, and I see it more and more now, more so now than ever. I can really tell when people are like really hard at gifts. They're like, hey, come here. I mean, and I love kids, period. And everybody got that little kid in them. And I see it. And I remember how it felt when I was younger, you know. So uh, yeah, so I just push people out there that I have a cool conversation with them. Depending on the setting, if it's about dads, I can push them out there easier. If it's just like, we talking about sports, I can wiggle my way around and kind of get on it to get a little bit more comfortable with having a conversation.
So you just said that you love kids, and you do a lot of projects for kids as well. And you've been a fantastic role model in regards to what it means to be a father, especially in a society where there has been a lot of role models that were lacking, or they were lacking
Yeah,
a father figure. And I feel that also has had an impact. You really stepping fully into that role of a father, taking it very seriously. I've never seen a father like you. I wish my dad was like you. It's like you were like an amazing father, and you've been a role model for other people to understand what it looks like to be a good father. But I feel that also impacts how you are mentoring people in the Krump world. Can you talk about how you see that your role as a father, as a mentor, because I feel it's all a bit intertwined.
they make it more complicated than it is. It's not that complicated to be there for your kids. It's not that complicated. You know what you wanted as a kid. Provide that. If you feel like you wanted more hugs, give your kids more hugs. If you wanted more kissing, give your more kids more kisses. If you wanted them to have more clothes or shoes, give them more clothes and shoes. You know what I mean? Even if you can't, just provide the safe space to allow them to be whoever they are and just support it. I mean, I want to support. I want the people to be here. So uh, and people got this false sense of saying, like, I don't know about all cultures, but out here they be like, "Don't be your kid's friend. Don't be this. Don't be that." I'm like, bro, you actually your kids first. Everything. Your kids first. Everything. So I don't put that pressure on myself. The pressure was that I wanted to be this great father, which I didn't understand what a great father was or is. Uh, but I always wanted to make sure that I was there as much as possible for them, so they can fall back on me because I've noticed that sometimes us as parents we can be so hard on our kids, we push them to games. But sometimes we don't have a father around that'll push us to games. Uh, the parents doing too much, not even focus on the kids, and it pushes the games. It was like all these different components was leading people to the same direction. So I'm like, well, they ain't gotta push you nowhere. I can welcome you into this fold where it's positive, but you can take that same frustration and you can put it in a way you can transfer that into something positive. And what I mean, with them taking out arts out the school and these different activities, I know it's kind of hard because a lot of people are not able to create that space anymore. So my thing is, come here, come over here, I got you, I help, and I'm looking to also help parents understand their kids. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't got to be like, back in my day, we used to do this. No, this is not back in the day. This is not 50 years ago. This is not 40 years ago. It's different. And you got to adjust and adapt to the time. If they use a little bit more technology now, learn the technology. You know what I mean? Get familiar. So, yeah, I just talk to my boys all the time. And it's actually harder mentoring everybody else than over here. My kids are smooth. They lay back. I mean, it's a cool conversation. I don't have to do too much to motivate them. They already motivated. So, uh, yeah, so it's dope. I love it across the board, though. Uh, because I invested in people's dreams, you know, and help people understand. A lot of times we're in our kids' ways. But, what I mean, you want our kids to be great, but you don't want to invest in the right time and put them around the right people. It's a village. You really take. And even the credit that we get, and my wife gives for raising our kids, uh, I, to me, it's a testament of the community that we put them in. Crop has been a dope community to keep them. They compete. They don't. I mean, they learn how to channel their frustrations. They learn how to practice, research, like all this is a lot of different components that help them, in their lives now. And now all they do is apply them to other things. They play sports, put it to their friends, they picking the right friends. But it's the community, government. And it's multiple communities that have a lot of friends.
To wrap up this interview, what has been your mantra or the thing that sort of kept you going from the very start when the crew was small and you just had an idea of something you wanted to create to building this empire? What is something that has been very consistent?
Probably started with you.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, because we didn't understand the reach. We didn't understand that it was actually like you came out here for work. And I'm like, wow. They're like, what made you come out? I remember looking at you and you looking like, is this homeland? I'm
Yeah,
like,
so
where
I
are you
had
from?
yeah, so just for the listeners, so I had a bursary from London to go and study Krump, but there was no Facebook back then, so there was no really networking online. And so I arrive in Hollywood and I'm like, oh great, I got this bursary that paid my flight to come here. I ain't got a clue where to find the Crumpers. Eventually somebody told me, they're very far away. There is this youth center. I arrived in this youth center and I'm waiting. And the first few people that enter just look at me like, okay, she's not from here. Like you can see it. And I think people were taken back and nobody was talking to me. And then you arrived and you were like, hey, what are you doing here?
So that, just seeing that, and then just hearing your story, and just taking stuff that I do when it was like going to sessions. Oh, you can ride? Shoot, you thinking there's a section over here, it's a section over there. So that was like the start of seeing like the reach that Krump had, and it touched these different areas. It was with you. It was with Duende and them in Spain. It was with old Junior Riddles in Japan, and it was like y'all came here to get more equipped with the information, and y'all was able to take it back to what your respective areas. And it was just like, this is what we can do. I, I could travel. Where's Belgium? You know what I mean? Like, where's Spain? I didn't know. Like, these places didn't exist to me. I never talked about traveling and stuff like that. Like, I barely went state to state. I played college football, and that's the only time I traveled. Knowing I had access to y'all, be able to talk to you guys, it always re-motivated me because y'all had a certain beliefs in me outside of, what I mean, like here, because it's hard for people to give you that, "Well, you can do it," if they feel like we all feel like we're in the same but scratching the bucket. You know what I mean? Like that's it. But y'all was able to give me, no, you got something. Like we want to be a part of what you got going. I'm just wow. So that has always kept me motivated and showing that's one component, but it's also so being able to do this for our kids, to have something that we both like and love, and we can build on that. I mean, from when they were real little to now to being taller than me, bigger than me, and it's this almost 20-year journey, watching them grow up to become young men, it's, it's special. So all that together, it's been dope. It taught me how, it really actually, for the most part, Krump has taught me how to be a better parent and really learn how to work with the younger people. And I've always like scored that between y'all overseas and then being able to do this with my family. It's been
What I'm hearing
too
as
pivotal.
well is when we met, for example, and you were like, oh, wow, actually, there is a reach like Krump. There's an interest for Krump in other countries. Or maybe
Yeah.
you had an encouragement from somebody that was not of your direct environment. And sometimes the encouragements or the compliments are very small, but you have to be open to hear it because
Yeah.
otherwise it doesn't land. And I feel while you were very humble and you didn't really know where you were going, you were also open to receive. And when compliments
Yeah.
came your way, you were like, okay, I'm going to let that sink in. And I feel that's also where your power came from.
Yeah. Like this one time, mind you, this early YouTube days. So Brendan started at two. His videos was going viral, which we didn't understand was no viral. But a lot of his footage, people that was watching his footage was in Japan. A lot of his footage went to Japan. A lot of his views came from Japan. We didn't know that. So
Hold on.
one
And
day we
just
was out.
for the listeners, you're talking about your son. Like, Because
Yeah, my
not
son.
everybody
Yeah,
might know that. Yeah. So he
yeah,
goes viral in Japan.
yeah. So we down Long Beach Pier, and me, my wife, and we walking, and we see like a group of tourists, and they see him. They said, "Oh, Billy Swap," but the way they said it, I can't really hear that they're saying his name. He's like, "Oh, can we take a picture? Picture?" And I'm like, "All right." So he took a picture with her. I never thought about it after that. It was like years later when one of my good friends from Japan came out here trained with us for 2 years. He was like, he said, "Y'all don't get it. In Japan, everyone knows everyone." I said, "What?" He said, "Everyone knows in Japan. Mini slap, very big." And I'm like, "Oh," and I'm like, "That's why these tourists will put us to the side and want to take pictures with him." I didn't know that he was already going viral in Japan. We didn't know about the analytics to certain things, where all the views were coming. We would just post videos. But he was like, "Yeah, Japan, like, all the people are really buzz." So that to, to see that type of stuff or be a part of that was real crazy. And it's been dope ever since. So I can't help but to give back to what opened the doors as far as possible. So I shake everybody's hand, say hello to everybody. Like it exposed me to a lot of stuff, a lot of deeper stuff.
I know that at some point for sure you're going to be fundraising for some of your projects. Where can people find you on social media so that they can eventually get involved in the long term or help you develop your projects?
We have Demolition Crew 100. That's on Instagram. Contact us. Also got our email, Demolition Crew 100@gmail.com. We got a couple different things coming up. We got the nonprofit, the culture, D6, the culture. That's the nonprofit. We get all these grants to do all these different events. We have events regularly. We just had our latest one, Wasteland. D6 Wasteland. That was in Texas. That was cool. So, we have a couple different things coming up. For the most part, I'm already focused and ready to launch in our process.
I'll make sure that I'll put all your contact details in the show notes because I want people to be updated with what you're doing and be also excited about making donations as well for your future nonprofit projects. So thank you so much for inspiring more and more people along the way. I can't wait to also do an
Thank you.
episode 2 once your cultural center and the nonprofit has even grown even more because I want to know more about it and I want to talk about it in this podcast. Thank you,
For
Fudd.
sure. Thank you.